Ghost didn't bark. He didn't growl. He just stood up, ears stiff, head tilted towards the door like he'd heard something no one else could. Cole Maddox looked up from the half-finished map on the table, the fireplace crackling low behind him. The blizzard outside had been howling for hours, thick snow slamming against the windows of the cabin like fists. "Ghost," he said, low. "What is it, buddy?" The dog didn't move for a moment. Then, in one fluid motion, Ghost padded across the wooden floor, pressed his snout against the cabin door, and let out a low, vibrating whine. Cole stood, setting the pencil down. He reached for the flashlight and unlatched the door a few inches. A gust of wind slammed into him like a freight train. He squinted into the swirling snow, instinct kicking in hard. That's when Ghost slipped past him and disappeared into the white. "Ghost!" Cole shouted, already grabbing his coat and boots. No response. Just the wind. The kind of cold that gets into bone. He didn't hesitate. Ghost never bolted. Never ignored a command. If he ran, there was a reason. Boots crunching into knee-deep powder, Cole followed. His breath came hard and fast, stinging his throat. Ghost's tracks were deep, but fading fast under the new snow. The forest had turned into a maze of white and black, shadows moving in the wind. For 20 minutes, Cole pushed through the snowdrift, past the old logging trail that marked the boundary of his property. Trees bent under the weight of winter. Every muscle in his body screamed from the cold and exertion. And then he saw it. At the base of a twisted pine, partially hidden by low branches and frost, lay a figure. Small. Too small. Arms bound at the wrists with a frayed cord. A girl. And Ghost, his dog, his brother in arms, lay beside her, his body curled protectively, head low, chest rising and falling with effort. Cole dropped to his knees. The girl's eyes fluttered open. She whispered, barely audible through lips that were blue and cracked. "Please, don't leave me." Cole didn't move for a beat. That voice, so small, so resigned, it punched straight through the armor he hadn't taken off since the war. She couldn't have been older than 9. Her clothes were thin, soaked, clinging to skin stretched too tight over bones. One sock, no gloves. A streak of dried blood ran down her temple. Her breath fogged the air for a second, then stopped. "Hey," Cole said, leaning in, heart pounding. "Hey, stay with me, okay? You're all right now. I've got you." Ghost whined low, as if encouraging the girl to hold on just a little longer. Cole didn't waste time. He cut the cord at her wrists, wrapped her in his coat, and hoisted her into his arms. She weighed nothing. Her skin was ice. He looked to Ghost. "Home?" he said. "Go." The shepherd turned, limping slightly, but moving fast through the snow, leading the way. Back through the storm, back towards the light. Each step was a battle. Cole's thighs burned. His shoulder, shattered once in Mosul, felt like it was tearing loose. But he didn't stop. Every time the girl stirred against his chest, he whispered, "You're okay. Just a little farther." By the time the cabin came into view, Cole's vision had started to blur. The lights inside looked like something out of a dream. Ghost was already at the door, pawing at it, glancing back. Cole staggered inside, kicked the door shut behind him, and laid the girl gently near the fireplace. Ghost immediately took his place beside her again, his head pressed against her side like he could warm her, by will alone. Cole moved fast. Blankets, hot water bottle, socks from the drawer. He rubbed her hands, then her feet. She didn't open her eyes again, but her chest moved, slow, uneven, but it moved. And then she spoke again, barely a whisper. "I didn't mean to. I just ran." Cole froze. "Ran from what?" he asked, but she didn't answer. Her head lolled slightly. She was back under. He checked her pulse. Weak, but there. Her skin was beginning to warm. He sat back, shoulders heaving. Ghost didn't take his eyes off her. Not once. He lay like a statue, muscles tight, breath steady, ears twitching at every sound from her body. Cole looked at him. "What the hell did you hear out there?" Ghost blinked. Slowly. Like a man who's seen things no one talks about. The fire crackled, snow clawed at the windows, and the girl lay still, wrapped in warmth and silence. Who had left her out there? How had Ghost found her? And why, out of everyone in this frozen mountain range, was it Cole, the man who'd walked away from war, from people, from everything, who ended up being the one to find her? He didn't know, but something deep in his gut told him this was only the beginning. The girl didn't speak again that night. She slept in fits, twisting under the blankets, lips mumbling broken thoughts to someone who wasn't there. Cole stayed near, propped against the edge of the couch with Ghost curled between them like a living shield. The dog didn't sleep. He barely blinked, as if standing guard against memories no one could see. By morning, the storm had dulled to a light flurry, soft against the windows. The sky outside the cabin had shifted from black to steel grey. Inside, the fire had died to embers. But warmth lingered. Cole brought a cup of warm broth to the couch and crouched beside the girl. Her face, now less pale, was young but drawn tight with something far older. She didn't move until Ghost nudged her elbow with his nose. "Hey," Cole said gently. "You awake?" Her eyes fluttered open. "I made soup," he said. "Kind of. Good enough for the end of the world." The girl blinked. She sat up slowly, watching him like an animal deciding whether to run or stay. She didn't reach for the cup. She looked down, whispered, "I'm not hungry." Her voice was hoarse, barely there. "I don't eat much," she added, quieter still. "He says I don't need it." Cole didn't ask who he was. Not yet. He offered the mug again, but she didn't take it. "What's your name?" he asked. The girl hesitated. Then, so soft it could have been mistaken for breath, she said, "Lily." "That's a good name," Cole replied. "Lily, I'm Cole. That's Ghost. He found you." Her eyes shifted to the shepherd, still lying close, his head against her shin. She didn't flinch when his tail swept the blanket once. "He stayed," she said. "Yeah, he does that." Cole stood, moved slowly to the wood stove, set the cup down. The silence behind him felt weighted. He could feel her watching his back. Then a different tone in her voice. Fragile. Warning. "Don't make me go back." He turned. "I won't." She stared at him, trying to believe it. Then she said it again. "Don't make me go back." She was shaking now. Her shoulders trembled beneath the layers of blankets. Cole crossed the room, knelt in front of her. "You're not going anywhere," he said, steady, low. "Not until we figure out what happened. And even then, not unless it's safe." Lily didn't nod, but something in her posture loosened. Just slightly. Her fingers, still clenched into fists, opened a little. Ghost nudged her side again. She reached down slowly, almost unsure how to pet him. Her hand hovered above his head, then settled into the fur behind his ears. Cole let her be. Later, while she slept again, deeper this time, curled against Ghost, he stepped outside with his phone. The cold bit at his face, but his mind was burning. He tapped through the contact list and stopped on a name he hadn't seen in 2 years. Cody Ramirez. Cody had been with him in Kandahar. Once. Now he was sheriff of the nearest town, Crooked Pine. Small department, smaller jurisdiction. They hadn't spoken since Cole dropped out of life. He hit call, 3 rings. Then, "Maddox. Thought you were a ghost." "Still am." Pause. "What's this about?" I need to report a kid, Cole said. Maybe a missing persons, roughly 9 years old. Found her up on Fox Ridge near my cabin, tied up, half frozen. Another pause. Longer. You bring her in? Number she's with me. She needs medical, yeah, but I didn't trust her being alone in a clinic. She tell you her name? Lily, no last name yet. Another beat. The line stayed open, but the silence wasn't empty. Then Cody said, Listen, you sure you want to get tangled up in this? Cole's eyes narrowed. She was left to die in the woods, tied up. You telling me not to report that? I'm telling you things are complicated. Cody replied, You're out of town. No one's expecting you to be the hero. She's a child. She's also not on any missing person bulletins we've put out. No Amber Alerts, no panicked parents calling the station, nothing. Cole felt that land heavy in his chest. Which means? I don't know. Cody said quieter. But if nobody's looking, then somebody didn't want her found. And that's the kind of trail that doesn't just go cold. It gets buried. Cole stared out across the snow-drenched trees. Best thing you can do, Cody continued, is drive her to St. Agnes Social Services in Boise. Let the system take it from there. She said not to send her back, Cole said. And you trust that? Cole didn't answer. I'm saying this as a friend, Cody added. Don't go poking where you don't need to. You've got enough ghosts. Don't pick up new ones. Cole ended the call. When he stepped back inside, Ghost was still lying beside the couch. Lily's hand was resting on the dog's shoulder like an anchor. Cole dropped into the chair and watched the flames climb back up the logs. A girl found in the woods. No missing report. No alert. No one looking. And a sheriff who sounded more afraid of questions than answers. This wasn't just a case of abandonment. It was a cover-up. And Cole hadn't gone through war, death, and silence just to turn his back now. Not when Ghost had heard the one thing no one else did. Don't make me go back. It wasn't until the third day that Cole noticed the backpack was missing. He was in the workshop behind the cabin, patching a cracked section of pipe, when Lily appeared at the door with Ghost shadowing her heels. Did I leave something? She asked, barely above a whisper. Cole set down his wrench. What kind of something? My backpack, she said. It was with me, in the woods. He watched her face. No panic, just the weight of someone used to losing things. But Ghost stood beside her, stiff, alert, ears pricked in a way Cole didn't like. Where exactly? Lily shrugged one shoulder. Near where I was. It's not big. Just old clothes and some stuff. Ghost let out a quiet huff, almost like a nudge. Cole didn't wait. He grabbed his coat, flashlight, and the rifle leaning in the corner. Ghost was already ahead of him, heading into the snow. The sky was low and grey as they retraced their steps back toward the ridge. The trail had softened with sun, but the cold still hung in the trees like a warning. Cole didn't speak much. He didn't need to. Ghost moved with certainty, nose low, tail stiff. Near the gnarled pine where he'd found her, Ghost halted. There, half buried beneath the collapsed edge of a snowbank, was a tattered pink and blue backpack. One strap torn, the zipper broken. Cole crouched and gently dug it out. It was damp, but heavier than he expected. He unzipped it slowly. Inside were a few mismatched clothes, a broken plastic toy, a pack of half-eaten crackers, and something wrapped in an old hoodie, a small neon-blue action camera. Cole froze. It was the kind designed for kids, covered in rubber casing. He tapped the power button. It lit up, battery low, but still alive. He turned to Ghost. The shepherd hadn't moved, eyes locked on the backpack like it might bite. Cole pocketed the camera and zipped the pack closed. Let's get back. Back at the cabin, Lily sat quietly on the floor, drawing circles in the steam on her cup of tea. She didn't look up when Cole returned, but her eyes followed Ghost as he passed. Cole didn't tell her what he found. Not yet. In the bedroom, he sat at the desk and plugged the camera into a portable charger. The screen flickered to life. 10 short video clips. He played the last one first. The footage was shaky. From Lily's eye level, trees passed quickly, her breath loud, fast. She was running. Then a man's voice, sharp and angry, shouted, "Stop!" The camera spun as she stumbled. Then came the moment that stopped Cole cold. A white pickup truck appeared at the edge of the clearing. No plates. The rear window was blacked out with cardboard. A man in a brown coat grabbed Lily's arm, yanked her off screen. The camera dropped to the ground, capturing only sky. Muffled yelling. A door slam. Then the video cut off. Cole sat frozen. He replayed it twice. Ghost padded into the room and stopped at his feet. When Cole turned the screen to show him, the dog's body tensed, his eyes locked on the truck. Then his head lowered, tail straight, teeth barely showing. "You recognize it," Cole said. Ghost let out a low sound that wasn't a growl, but something older, deeper. Cole closed his eyes for a moment. This wasn't just some runaway dumped in the woods. This wasn't a one-off act of cruelty. The truck, the way the plate had been scraped off, the efficiency of the snatch. It was practiced, and Ghost had smelled that fear before. In Kandahar, they had tracked human traffickers in a burned-out district near the border. One of the vehicles used had been a white truck. Different country, different language. But Ghost didn't forget scent. Not ever. Cole took a breath. He pulled out his old hard drive, downloaded the footage, encrypted it, and sent it to 2 people he hadn't contacted in years. One was a former federal investigator. The other had worked in child protection, the kind that didn't always ask permission. He added a message. "Possibly part of a network. Idaho, confirming more. Stay quiet for now." Outside the bedroom, Ghost paced once, then sat near the couch where Lily had curled up again, sketching in silence. He didn't look away from her. Cole watched them both from the hallway. A girl who didn't scream, a dog who didn't forget, and a camera that told the truth no one was ready to hear. Lily wasn't the first, and if they didn't move carefully, she might not be the last. The knock came just before dusk. Cole was in the middle of chopping wood behind the cabin, sleeves rolled, breath visible in the late afternoon chill. Ghost had been restless all day, pacing the perimeter, checking the tree line, always with one ear turned toward the road that barely qualified as a driveway. When the knock echoed across the porch, Ghost was already at the front door, tail stiff, body braced, not barking, not growling, just still. Cole rounded the cabin slowly, axe still in hand. When he opened the door, a woman stood there, bundled in a faded green parka, snow on her boots, hair pulled back but wind-blown. Her face was drawn, tired in a way no sleep could fix. "I'm sorry to come unannounced," she said. "Are you Cole Maddox?" Cole didn't answer right away. He studied her face, her eyes, too sharp to be lost, too hollow to be whole. "I am," he said finally. "My name's Linda Crowley. I live down in Clearwater. Or, I used to. I've been all over since my daughter went missing." Cole's grip on the door shifted. He didn't move to invite her in. "I think," she continued, voice catching, "I think your dog may have found something connected to her." Inside, Ghost let out a low sound, ears flat. Not a warning, something closer to memory. "I don't follow," Cole said carefully. Linda unzipped her coat and pulled out a small knit hat. Pink, with a frayed pom-pom. Faded now, but once bright. She was wearing this the day she disappeared. She said, "Her name is Natalie. She was 8. Gone without a trace. The police said she probably wandered off. Maybe animals got to her. But I knew. I always knew that wasn't it. Ghost stepped forward slowly. He lowered his head and sniffed the hat. The reaction was immediate. He let out a deep, throaty whine, the kind Cole hadn't heard since Kandahar. Ghost's body tensed, tail low, eyes fixed on the hat like it carried ghosts. He nudged it, then turned toward the back of the house, toward Lily's room. Cole's blood went cold. Linda looked down. That dog knows something, doesn't he? Cole nodded once. Come in. She stepped inside cautiously, glancing around the small, warm space like it was sacred. Her eyes flicked toward the couch, the sketches still lying open, a bowl of crayons, a single unmatched sock draped over the armrest. Someone's been here, she said softly. My niece. Cole lied. Linda didn't press. She pulled a small photo from her pocket and set it on the table. A girl with chestnut curls, big brown eyes, and a pink jacket, smiling, holding a cloth doll missing one eye. She was last seen at a rest stop, with my ex-husband. He said she wandered into the woods while he was making a call, but the story kept changing. Cole stared at the image, then at Ghost, now pacing between the photo and the hallway like he was trying to piece together a puzzle. Why come here? Cole asked. I heard through someone in town you had a military dog. A damn good one. I tracked down your name from an old friend at the VFW. I didn't know what I was hoping for, honestly, but the hat, the minute he reacted, I knew I was close. Cole took a long breath. There was a camera, he said finally. We found it in the woods, showed Lily being taken into a truck. No plates. Same methods they used in other cases I've seen overseas. Linda's lips tightened. Her voice dropped. There's more kids. I've been gathering names. Towns within a 2-hour radius. Always the same. Foster placements, shared custody, or kids nobody's really watching. Reports get buried. Deputies shrug it off. You dig too hard, they say you're grieving too loudly. Cole stared at her, something hardening in his chest. Ghost circled once, then sat by the fire, eyes still locked on the hat like it was burning. Lily emerged from the hallway, barefoot, clutching her sketchbook. She paused when she saw Linda. The woman froze. Lily's eyes darted to Ghost. He stood slowly, approached her, and bumped her hand with his head. She looked at Linda again, then disappeared silently back into the room. Linda turned to Cole. That's not your niece. No. Cole admitted. And you're not going to let her go, are you? No. Linda let out a breath that sounded like part relief, part resignation. She reached into her bag and handed him a folder. Handwritten notes, maps, a list of names with dates. I don't have the law on my side, but I've got this. And now maybe you. Cole looked down at the paper. Some of the names were scratched out. Next to one, written in red ink. Confirmed found dead. Overdose. He closed the folder. You said your husband's story kept changing. What happened to him? Linda met his eyes. He left town. Right after the case closed. Got a new job out in South Dakota. Corporate security. Big money. Sudden promotion. I tried to track him, but every time I got close, something pushed back. Cole didn't ask what she meant. He already knew. Outside, the wind had picked up again. A faint hum in the trees. Cole moved to the window, out of habit. Something flickered across the tree line, just a blur, a shadow, too still. Ghost stood again, body tight. Cole turned slowly back to Linda. We need to move fast. Someone might be watching. Linda's face didn't change. They usually are. Cole walked to the back room, knocked gently on Lily's door. Pack your things, just essentials. She opened it, eyes wide but not afraid. Is it happening again? She asked. He nodded. But this time, he said, glancing at Ghost standing like a statue in the hall. They don't know who they're up against. The wind had died down by midnight, and the forest outside lay in a deep, deceptive stillness. Cole sat at the kitchen table, disassembling his sidearm for the third time, not out of need, just instinct. Across the room, Lily slept curled beneath a pile of blankets, her sketchbook clutched tight to her chest. Ghost lay nearby, eyes closed but alert, ears flicking at every creak of the cabin's old frame. Cole had spent the last 24 hours cross-referencing Linda's folder with his own findings. There were patterns, counties with overlapping names, foster placements through the same shadowy organization. And now, a lead that pointed higher than he was ready for. He was about to shut the laptop when Ghost sat up, stiff and silent, nose lifted towards the door. "Ghost?" Cole said, standing slowly. The shepherd moved towards the window like a shadow, shoulders hunched, tail locked low. A deep, quiet growl rumbled in his chest. Cole didn't need more. He crossed the room, killed the lights, and pulled Lily's blanket tighter around her. 3 seconds later, the front door exploded. Splinters rained through the air. A flashbang bounced across the floor, blinding white light, then thunder. Cole dove toward Lily, shielding her with his body. Ghost lunged straight into the chaos. The first man through the doorway had a suppressed pistol and body armor. He barely got a step inside before Ghost launched. Teeth locked onto his forearm, a deep crunching sound followed by a scream that split the dark. The gun clattered to the floor. "Down!" a voice yelled. "Where's the girl?" 2 more figures stormed in, moving like they'd done this before, room clearance tactics, sharp and fast. Cole was already rolling left, grabbing the pistol from the floor with one hand and dragging Lily toward cover with the other. One of the intruders fired. The shot buried into the wood above Cole's head. Ghost didn't flinch. He released the first attacker only to pivot and charge the second, knocking him off balance. They crashed into the coffee table. Cole fired, twice. 1 round hit center mass on the third man's vest. He staggered but stayed up, ducking behind the couch. Lily crawled to the corner, clutching her head. "Cole! I've got you!" he shouted, voice harsh with adrenaline. The second man recovered faster than Cole expected. He slammed into Cole's side, knocking the weapon free. They wrestled near the fireplace, fists slamming, boots crunching broken glass and debris. Cole caught a glimpse of Ghost leaping again, blood on his muzzle. Then came the smell. Gasoline. The first man, the one Ghost had bitten, was crawling to the door, one arm useless. With his good hand he tossed a burning rag into the kitchen. Flames caught instantly. "You don't know who she belongs to!" He spat, blood bubbling from his lips. "She's Weiler's property. You're dead, man! You just declared war!" Ghost turned toward the fire. His body blocked the flames from Lily, backing her into the hallway. Cole slammed his fist into the second man's jaw, sending him crashing into the hearth. The third one bolted, dragging the others towards the door. "This isn't over!" one of them shouted. "You're going up against a goddamn senator!" And then they were gone. Cole didn't chase. Smoke was already thick in the cabin. He grabbed Lily and shouted, "Out the back!" Ghost herded them down the narrow hall, nudging Lily forward, barking now, short, sharp, urgent. They stumbled out into the snow, barefoot, breath smoking in the air. Behind them, fire danced in the windows, painting the cabin in flickers of orange and shadow. Cole turned and snapped a photo of the retreating vehicle. No plates again. But he'd caught a sliver of a face. He pulled out his phone, hands shaking, and opened the voice memo app. He replayed the one thing that mattered. "She's Weiler's property. You just declared war." He saved the file and hit send. The contact was labeled only Silas. Then he turned to Lily, shaking but alive, pressed into Ghost's side like he was the only thing keeping her upright. "You okay?" he asked. She didn't answer, just stared at the fire swallowing the only home she'd felt safe in. Cole crouched beside Ghost and whispered, "You saved her again." Ghost looked at him, blood on his face, burn on one flank, and blinked slow, like a soldier who didn't need thanks. Cole rose, heart pounding with fury, confusion, and something else that had been sleeping too long. Purpose. They weren't just fighting traffickers anymore. They were fighting the system that protected them. They didn't sleep in a real bed for the next 4 nights. After the fire, Cole moved them between safe houses, cabins borrowed from old military contacts, hunting shacks deep in the woods, a ranger station long since decommissioned. Each place offered heat and roof enough, but never peace. Lily didn't ask to go home. She never asked where they were going next. She only asked if Ghost could sleep beside her. He always did. Even now, with the wound on his front leg still stitched and tender, Ghost limped to wherever she laid her head and settled beside her like he was carved from the floorboards themselves. Cole watched them both. The way Lily curled into his side, the way Ghost leaned in to steady her breathing. They were orbiting each other now, 2 survivors pulled together by gravity neither of them asked for. Lily had started to speak more, too. Not in full stories, but pieces, edges of memory, dropped like breadcrumbs. She sat beside the fire in one of the cabins, sketching with a broken crayon, and said, "She used to sing to me." "Your mum?" Cole asked, not pushing. She nodded. "But only when he wasn't home. He said it made me soft." Cole didn't ask who he was. Later, over a dinner of canned soup and stale crackers, she added, "She got sick. I think she was going to take me away, but then she didn't wake up." The silence after that lasted long. Ghost rested his head on her feet. Lily touched the scar on his ear. "They didn't want me after that. He just gave me away, like I was extra." Cole didn't move. He couldn't. "I thought maybe it was punishment," she said, voice even, "for not being good enough. That's what the other girl said." Cole looked at her then, really looked, the way her shoulders stayed tight even when she was warm, the way she checked the door before she spoke, the way she listened for footsteps that would never come. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said. "I know that now," she replied, but it took Ghost to believe it. Ghost blinked, shifted, and pressed his head harder into her lap. She whispered something to him then. Cole couldn't hear all of it, but the last sentence landed like a blade pressed to skin. "You're the only one who didn't leave." That night, while Lily slept on a cot with Ghost draped beside her like a blanket, Cole stepped outside into the cold and made a decision. He wasn't going to wait for a rescue. They weren't just hiding from criminals anymore. They were hiding from a machine, people with money, power, names engraved on marble, and no one in the sheriff's office was going to touch that. But federal court, that was different. Cole hadn't worn a uniform in years. He hadn't been called Sir since his last deployment. But he still had one card left to play. Truth, backed by blood and evidence, and a dog who never forgot the scent of fear. He pulled out his old sat phone and dialed a number he hadn't used since the world fell apart. Someone from his last team in tactical intel. A woman named Avery, who now worked somewhere deep inside DHS Child Protection Task Force. The call rang twice. "Jesus, Maddox," Ivory answered. "You're alive?" "Barely. I've got something. Kidnapping, trafficking, tied to a sitting senator." There was silence, then a sharp inhale. "Weiler." His name came out of one of the attackers' mouths. "I have the audio. I have the girl." "Where are you?" "Can't say yet. I need you to open a federal hearing. I'm bringing her in. Not to state court, not to CPS. Real protection." Ivory didn't hesitate. "Send me everything. I'll fast-track the warrant. You've got 48 hours. After that, the leaks start bleeding." Cole hung up and looked through the cabin window. Lily had shifted, hand draped over Ghost's ribs, face relaxed in sleep for the first time in days. He felt the weight settle on him fully now. She didn't just need shelter. She needed someone who would not walk away, no matter how loud the doors slammed. And Ghost, slower now, wounded but still refusing to rest, was showing him exactly how to stay. Cole reloaded his pistol, double-checked the flash drives, then sat on the porch until morning, watching the horizon as it shifted from black to grey. The sun was coming. And this time, he was walking into court not as a man with a child he didn't ask for, but as the one man willing to fight for her. Because when Ghost stayed, Cole finally understood. So would he. The courtroom smelled like lemon polish and old books, cold in that sterile way federal buildings always were. Cole sat stiff in his chair, his eyes never leaving Lily's small frame. She sat next to him in her best clothes, a cardigan 2 sizes too big and jeans that barely touched her ankles. Her fingers trembled in her lap. Ghost lay curled at her feet, alert despite the bandages still wrapped around his hind leg. Across the room, the couple claiming to be her adoptive parents made their entrance. They looked like something out of a family commercial. The man wore a tailored navy blazer and horn-rimmed glasses. The woman smiled with the soft warmth of someone trained to disarm. They handed over folders to the judge with a practiced kind of poise. Your Honor, these are the legal documents confirming guardianship of Lily Ann Harrow, the woman said sweetly. Lily flinched at the sound of her full name. Her eyes darted towards the door, then downward. Ghost nudged her gently with his nose. Cole's jaw tightened. He leaned over and whispered, You're not alone. The judge, a grey-haired man with a clockwork rhythm to his decisions, flipped through the pages. Everything seems in order. If there are no other legal objections... That's when Ghost growled. Not the warning bark of a protective shepherd. This was deeper, low and guttural, a sound that made even the bailiff's hand twitch toward his holster. The judge paused. Control your dog. Cole didn't move. Neither did Lily. Her shoulders were curled forward, her eyes glassy. Ghost growled again, then stood, positioning himself between Lily and the couple. The woman's smile cracked for a split second. I said, Control that animal. The judge repeated, louder now. Suddenly, a rustling at the courtroom door. A court officer approached the bench quickly, whispered something in the judge's ear, then looked straight at Cole. Mr. Maddox, the officer said, motioning him outside. There's something you need to see. Cole hesitated, but one look at Lily. Then Ghost told him this wasn't just a distraction. He followed. Out in the hallway, past echoing marble steps and brass wall plaques, they ducked into a side office. The officer shut the door, pulled a USB stick from his pocket, and slid it into the monitor. The footage loaded, grainy but clear. It showed a gas station parking lot. A white box truck pulled up to the curb at night. Headlights flickered. A man stepped out. Same build, same blazer as the so-called adoptive father. He opened the back door, and there, small, resisting, struggling, was Lily. She was shoved inside like cargo. No sound, but the timestamp solid. The officer said, This was 2 nights before she showed up at your place. Cole stared. Why are you showing me this now? The officer's jaw clenched. He reached for a drawer and pulled out a photograph of his own daughter, maybe 6, in a pink tutu. Because I've been told to shut up more times than I can count, he said quietly. But I see her face every time I see that girl. I can't ignore it anymore. Cole's voice came out hoarse. Will you testify? The officer nodded. Under oath. I've already handed this to the federal marshal's office. I didn't come to work today planning to lose my pension, but some things are worth it. Back in the courtroom, the tone had shifted. Ghost now sat perfectly still, tail tucked, eyes trained on the man across the aisle. Lily leaned into his side, calmer now, like she knew, somehow, that the tide had turned. The judge looked up as Cole re-entered. "Well, Mr. Maddox, you have something for the court." Cole stepped forward, voice firm. "Yes, Your Honor. I have new evidence that changes everything." Then he added, looking straight at the couple, "And I have someone who finally decided to do the right thing." Ghost didn't move, but the tension in the room changed. He didn't need to bark. He didn't need to fight. He had already done his job. He had listened, and made the world listen too. Ghost didn't cry out. He didn't whimper. He just collapsed. It happened so suddenly, neither Cole nor Lily had time to react. One moment they were walking out of the courthouse, the wind carrying the last trace of autumn warmth. The next, Ghost's legs gave out. He crumpled to the pavement with a heavy thud. "Ghost!" Lily dropped to her knees beside him, her tiny hands already shaking. "No, no, no, not now. You saved me. You don't get to leave yet." Cole knelt beside them, his fingers pressing lightly against Ghost's side. The rise and fall of breath was there, but barely. "Stay with us, big guy," he murmured, trying not to let the tremor in his voice show. "You've done enough, but not like this." People passed on the sidewalk, some slowing, unsure whether to intervene. But no one moved closer. No one else had seen what Ghost had carried, what he had endured, not just this week, but for years before. No one but Lily. "I'm calling the vet," Cole said, pulling his phone out with one hand while the other stayed on Ghost's chest. His voice was tight. "Now." Lily didn't look up. She leaned down until her forehead touched Ghost's. Her whisper was barely audible. "You don't leave me. Not you." By the time the emergency vet arrived, Ghost was unresponsive. Cole rode in the back with Ghost, one hand on the old shepherd's flank the whole ride, jaw locked as memories slammed back. Combat missions, explosions, days they both should have died. Ghost had never once gone down. Until now. At the clinic, time stretched and warped. A team of 3 rushed Ghost into the back. Cole was forced to hold Lily in the waiting room, both of them silent, eyes fixed on the door as if staring could force it to open faster. "He saved me," Lily whispered. "If he dies, I don't know where to go." "You're not going anywhere," Cole said. "Neither is he." 30 minutes passed before a grey-haired vet with tired eyes stepped through the swinging door. "He's alive," she said, "but just barely. His hips are degenerating, and he's had a series of microstrokes, probably over time, exacerbated by stress. And he's old. Too old to be doing what you're making him do." "I didn't make him," Cole said softly. "He chose." The vet paused, looked at him a moment longer, and nodded. "We'll stabilize him, but he shouldn't be running into danger anymore." "I know," Cole replied. "He's earned his rest." They brought Ghost out later that evening, still sedated but breathing easier. Lily reached out and gently laid her hand on his head. "You came back." Cole turned toward the window, where red and blue lights had just flickered to life outside. Federal agents. Not local cops, not some backwater sheriff. FBI. The door opened, and a tall woman in a tailored suit stepped in. She had the kind of presence that made the whole room go still. Her badge was already out. "Mr. Maddox, my name is Special Agent Lauren Park. We've seen the footage." "What footage?" She pulled out a tablet, tapped the screen, and turned it toward him. The grainy video showed Lily, drugged, being dragged into the back of a white utility van. The license plate had been blurred, but now clearly enhanced. That was 2 months ago, 2 counties over. The van is registered to a holding company linked to Weiler's campaign donors. Cole's mouth dried. "So it's true," Worse than you know, Park said. We've opened a multi-agency task force, and we're going public. The next day, every major outlet ran the headline. Federal investigation launched into child trafficking ring tied to Senator Weiler. Cole watched the coverage from his kitchen, Lily curled next to Ghost, who now wore a leg brace and rested on his custom orthopedic mat. Weiler denied everything. Until the second wave of evidence hit: wire transfers, encrypted emails, a recovered journal from one of the drivers. 3 days later, he resigned in disgrace. The network unraveled fast. Arrests in 5 states, foster licenses revoked. The adoptive couple from court? Gone, already in custody. But Cole didn't celebrate. He knelt beside Ghost that night and whispered, "You never gave up, even when we didn't deserve you." Ghost shifted in his sleep, ears twitching at the sound of Lily's quiet breathing nearby. The fight was over, but the story wasn't. The first snow came early that year, dusting the mountains around Crooked Ridge like powdered sugar. Lily stood barefoot on the porch, sketchpad tucked under her arm, as the old boards creaked beneath her weight. She stared at the empty lot behind the ranger station, eyes narrowed with purpose. Then she sat, crossed her legs, and began to draw. Cole found her there an hour later, pencil smudges on her cheeks and a half-finished blueprint in her lap. "What's this?" he asked, kneeling beside her. "A place where kids like me don't have to sleep, with one eye open." She didn't look up, just kept shading in the porch of a 1-story cabin surrounded by pine trees and a fenced yard. "No locks on the inside," she said quietly. "Only trust." Cole blinked back something tight in his chest and sat down beside her. They named it Ghost's Watch. Not a shelter, not an orphanage. A home, built on land no one wanted, in a town too small to be noticed, funded by grants Linda helped secure through veteran support networks and silent donors who owed Cole favors from another lifetime. Every beam was nailed in by hand, every wall painted by someone who had seen their own kind of darkness. Ex-Marines, retired EMTs, a Navajo carpenter who lost his son to the foster system. They didn't speak much, but they worked like their hands knew what this place meant. Lily oversaw the design like a general. Every room had a skylight. Every bunk had a dog bed next to it. Because she knew not everyone could talk about pain. But sometimes you didn't need words if there was a warm nose and quiet eyes beside you. Ghost watched all of it unfold from his spot beneath the pine tree at the gate. He no longer barked much, just watched, head high, eyes scanning, as if daring the world to try again. One afternoon, a black SUV pulled up. Lily tensed. Ghost didn't move. A woman stepped out. Late 30s, sharp suit, the kind of expression that carried federal weight. She walked slowly toward the gate, clutching a file. "I'm from DOJ," she said, offering Cole a thin smile. "Child Trafficking Unit." "We already gave our statements," Cole replied, keeping his body between her and Lily. "I know," she said. "I'm not here for that. I'm here because we're changing protocols, because one of your rescues, this one," she pointed at Ghost, "broke a chain that's been quietly strangling kids for decades." Ghost didn't look at her. His ears flicked back once, then forward again. "We'd like to train dogs for early trauma response," she said. "Not just for war, for peace too." Linda stepped outside with a tray of cocoa. She didn't speak, just handed a mug to Lily. Lily turned to the agent. "You can use the name." "Ghost's Watch?" the woman asked. "No," Lily replied. "His full name." Cole nodded. "Specialist Ghost, K-9 retired, survivor, protector." The agent smiled. "We'll make sure it's remembered." That night, Lily placed the final sketch on the mantel above the fireplace. It was a pencil drawing of Ghost, flanked by children's hands reaching toward him, and the mountains in the background. No words, just his eyes, steady, waiting. As the fire crackled, Lily whispered to Cole, "He still watches even when he sleeps." Cole didn't answer. He didn't need to. Outside, the wind picked up. Ghost stirred once, then settled again. Not guarding, not protecting. Belonging. It was a crisp October morning when the new building stood unveiled, against the backdrop of pine-covered hills and the quiet hum of rural Idaho. A simple wooden sign hung above the entryway, hand-carved with care and worn just enough to feel like it had always belonged. Ghost's Watch. Families gathered around the steps. Some were from the town. Others had come from states away, drawn not by flashy news coverage but by whispered stories passed through shelters, social workers, and quiet veterans who spoke of a war dog who never stopped fighting. Not with teeth, but with presence. Lily stood in front of the crowd, her long sleeves rolled up like she always did when she meant business. She looked older now, though only a year had passed. Not in the way of age, but in the way of someone who had seen the underside of the world and chose not to look away. She cleared her throat, then opened a folded piece of paper, creased, softened at the corners, but written in her unmistakable hand. When I first met Ghost, I didn't trust anything that stood upright. Not men, not women, not even my own voice. But he didn't ask for trust. He didn't bark. He didn't bite. He just stayed. That's why I'm alive. The wind stirred softly as she looked down, folding the paper back into her coat. A quiet passed over the crowd. Not silence, but that sacred kind of quiet only earned when something real has just been spoken aloud. Ghost lay beside her feet. His once muscled body had softened with age. His muzzle had turned salt and pepper, but his ears still twitched at the sound of her voice, and his eyes, though heavy-lidded, never stopped scanning the crowd, just in case. Cole was there, too, standing a few paces behind her in a faded Marine Corps jacket, arms crossed, jaw tight. He wasn't one for speeches, but the faint shimmer in his eyes said more than words ever could. Linda, now director of outreach, stood next to the new therapy rooms, quietly handing out small notebooks to arriving kids. Each one had a drawing of a German shepherd on the front, and the words, "Your story matters." At the back, a boy about 10, scrawny and too alert for his age, leaned down toward Ghost. He didn't pet him right away, just sat beside him for a long beat. Then, barely above a whisper, he said, "You stayed for her. Will you stay for me too?" Ghost didn't move, but his tail gave a single, slow thump on the wooden porch. A murmur passed through the crowd. Some smiled, others cried. One woman, a social worker from Billings, pressed a hand to her heart. They know, even the broken ones, they know when someone listens. Later that day, they installed a permanent plaque beneath the sign at the gate. The letters carved deep into cedar wood read, "Here, someone always listens." No titles, no names, just a promise. That night, as the last rays of sun slipped behind the mountains, Ghost lay curled in his usual spot at the entrance, eyes half closed, breathing slow and steady. Lily came and sat next to him, her knees pulled up to her chest. "You can rest now, buddy," she whispered. "I've got it from here." He didn't move, but the flick of his ear said he heard her. Maybe he always would. And now I ask you, whoever you are, wherever you're reading this from, what about you? Has anyone, animal or human, ever stayed for you when no one else did? And that was Ghost's story. Not a tale of loud heroism or medals, but of something far rarer. Loyalty that never asked for praise, presence that never needed words, a silent promise, "I won't leave you, even when the world does." Ghost may have aged, he may sleep longer now, dream deeper, but his legacy is wide awake, in every child who steps through the doors of Ghost's Watch, in every soul that learns. Healing doesn't start with talking. It starts with being heard. So if this story moved you, if you've ever had someone, animal or human, who stayed for you when no one else did, then don't let it end here. Subscribe to the German Shepherd channel. Here, we share the true stories of loyalty, bravery, and healing, one paw print at a time. Because somewhere out there, another ghost is waiting. And another Lily needs to know she's not alone. Thank you for listening. Now go hug your dog. Or better yet, listen to them.